Welcome back, everyone. I have some really creepy stories to share with you guys. They have to do with the forest, and you never know what's lurking outside. So with that said, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and sit back and relax. So this was very recent, about 6 days ago to be exact. I'm a huge fan of hiking or just simply taking walks into the woods. The only time I go alone is when I'm in the woods I live near. This day, I was not. I was with my friend Lars in a walk about 3 hours from my house. We were planning on traveling around and staying at motels in the meantime. That day, we decided to take a walk in a popular area for people who like to walk in the woods like me. The catch was that this woods was freaking huge. Not really bad to us though. We were thrilled. There wasn't much. It was pretty. We escaped the crowd, but every now and then, we would see someone walking by. We walked for a while until we got to this spot. Not too different from the rest, except for one thing. Nobody else was around in this section. That's why me and Lars took this turn. The other turn had a bit of people. After a while walking down this path, we spotted a man, a naked man. We gave each other a look and turned around. The man was slightly off path, bent over and looking at something. As me and Lars were walking back, talking about the strange man, I heard a voice behind me. I turned to see the man. He was talking to us about the bug he picked up. I got a look at him. He was a bit tall, nothing crazy, bald with a few brown hairs beginning to grow, but completely naked. I flashed the man a smile and sped up. We got out of that place as fast as we could. Once we got to the car, we kinda laughed. Yes, it was creepy, but more weirdly funny. The car ride was nothing to skip to the motel. As we were checking in the motel, we see the man walk in. He was a bit hard to recognize considering the fact now he had clothes. Just torn up clothes. He waited behind us in line. Good thing we were almost done checking in, because as soon as we did, we went right to our room and locked it. With no thought. Now it was definitely creepy. Was he following us? Or was it just a coincidence? We both decided we weren't going to stay at this hotel for more than a night. Heck, I don't want to stay one night if it weren't for Lars telling me it's okay. That night, Lars wanted to go outside for a cigarette. I don't smoke, but no way was I going to stay in that room alone. I followed him outside and was chatting for a bit. After a few minutes, I see the guy walk out of the doors. Lars put out his cigarette and began to walk inside. But before we got in, the guy pulled out what was probably a knife or something else sharp. It was dark, I could barely see, and started carving through his sleeve and right at his arm. I saw liquid trickling to the ground and immediately I knew it was blood. I rushed into the lobby, and Lars got the idea and followed. We alerted the staff, but by the time they got someone to come out, he was gone. To this day, I still have so many questions. Did he follow us? Why was he naked? Why was he doing that to himself? I will probably never know the answer, but honestly I'm still spooked. I don't know what I will do if I see him again, but I hope I don't have to think about that. A few years ago, about 2019, I was riding the bus one night to get home. There was a guy on the bus that was a little disheveled and dirty, reeked of alcohol and generally acting weird. I was sitting in the back, and he had sat near me and tried to talk to me. I was polite at first. I ride the bus at night a lot, so a drunk homeless guy does not bother me, and I have no problem making small talk with a stranger on the bus. Plus, I'm used to there being one or two sketchy people on the bus, considering the route and the fact it's late at night. When he tried to get flirty, I politely told him I wasn't interested, and put my headphones back in my ears, and even ignored him. He got a little frustrated, and even said some vulgar things, but I couldn't really hear him, so it was fine. It's not my first rodeo, being in that kind of situation, and while it's uncomfortable and there's nothing okay about that sort of behavior, I rarely feel threatened. Most of the time, they are harmless, all bark and no bite, and I'm a big girl, as in tall and overweight, and I know basic self-defense, and always have an exit strategy when in scenarios where I don't feel safe. When people get like that on the bus, I find most of the time, ignoring them and acting like I'm not fazed is enough for them to get bored and find something else to do. I only engage if they get in my face or start harassing other passengers, especially other women, kids and seniors, or anyone who appears vulnerable, because I will not tolerate that, and the bus drivers usually don't put up with that either, if it escalates enough. Anyway, this random drunk homeless guy would have been just one of many random drunk homeless guys, if it weren't what happened next. So my stop is coming up. I am looking forward to going home. I am exhausted, and so ready to get to bed. I pull the cord to indicate that I want off the next stop, and he gets up and walks up to the front to talk to the driver, and then laughs, loudly. I don't think much of it, except I'm a little wary and thinking, please don't tell me we were getting off at the same stop. As the bus slows down, I am waiting at the back door to be let off at my stop. Instead of opening the back door, he opens the front door and the guy gets off. I ask the driver to open the back door and I see him shake his head in the mirror and annoyed. I walk to the front to get off there, but he closes the door before I can get off and starts driving. Angry, I say, "What the hell? That's my stop." And the driver replies, Sorry, but I can't in good conscience let you off at the same stop as that guy. Either get off at the next one, or wait until we get to transit station and take a bus going the other way." Not getting it, I ask, "Why?" "Because of what he said to me," he says. I ask what he said, and the driver just says, "Nothing I would like to repeat, ever. I'm so sorry, but just trust me." The driver actually looks shaken, and considering the tone of his voice and the look on his face, as frustrated and anxious as I was to get home, I trusted him and took his word for it. I caught another bus going the other way at the next terminal and watched the driver radio dispatch to get some peace officers and transit security to patrol the area next to that stop. They were parking in the parking lot near the stop when I finally got off, and I was extra paranoid and on high alert as I walked a couple of blocks to my apartment that night. Fortunately, without further incident, I never saw that guy again, and I'm okay with that. To this day, I wonder what exactly he said to the driver. It bugs me not knowing, but at the same time, maybe it's better that way. Either way, the implications are enough to have freaked me out. Alright, I spent my entire slow day at work yesterday reading through this sub, so now I want to share my little story. My childhood best friend, Mary, and I were around 11 or 12 years old at the time. Mary's family had their own campsite in a provincial park about 2 hours from our hometown, and would spend the entire summer each year living in their camper out there. This particular summer, I was able to go and stay with them for a week, and we were excited to spend our time adventuring around the forest. On the last night that I was there, we decided we wanted to hurry down to the ice cream shop by the lake before it closed. It was early evening at this point, still pretty bright out, but beginning to lose light. The path we took was down a short slope right next to the main road, with maybe 10 feet of thick brush and trees in between. On the other side was the forest, with more tall, thick brush. So we were walking along, not seeing a single other person on the path in front of us or behind us. We hear a sudden rustling and snapping of branches, similar to the sound of maybe a deer moving through the woods. I wouldn't have thought anything of it, but then the sound of running footsteps follows. Mary glances back and suddenly grabs my arm, urging me under her breath not to look back. At the same time, the running stops. I don't know why I didn't ignore her and get a look myself. I guess I could sense the very real fear in her voice, and chose to listen. We both start to panic, getting that feeling like when you're running up the stairs and turning the basement light off. We pick up speed as much as we can without breaking into a sprint, knowing the ice cream shop is only about a minute walk away at this point. The path soon breaks and we are in a parking lot. Suddenly, Mary steers me hard to the left, heading towards the lake and the boat rental instead of continuing straight to the ice cream shop, and I go along with it silently, understanding ice cream is no longer an interest right now. Mary is clearly panicking at this point. We are both looking around, but it seems whatever scared her is nowhere in sight at this point. Mary walks up to the boat rental and gets us a kayak, and we climb in and began to paddle out in the middle of the lake. As we paddle, she tells me that there was a man behind us and that the man had stopped running at us very abruptly upon making eye contact with her. He had been wearing a long black coat with the hood up despite it being the middle of July, had a terrible smirk on his face, and she swore that as he stopped running, she saw him put something shiny away into his coat. He appeared to have emerged out of the bushes after we walked past, given the sounds we heard right before he came running onto the path. We reached the center of the lake and stopped paddling. I pulled out my Nokia brick phone that my parents had, thank God, given me, just in case. I hand it to Mary and tell her to call her parents to come pick us up. As the phone rings, I see her look out past me to the shore and go pale, lifting a hand to point out to what she's seeing. I turned, and there was a man, stalking his way around the path that circled the edge of the lake, staring at us. We sat in the middle of the lake and watched him do 2 full laps, never looking away from us, before finally disappearing. It took a few tries to get a hold of her family. We were freaking out so bad the whole time. As the sun got lower and lower, we did manage to have someone come with the truck, but by the time we reached the shore, it was pretty dark outside. I don't know what we would have done if we hadn't been able to call for a ride. Looking back, I don't know why we didn't just go up to the ice cream shop, inform an adult there, and ask our parents to come and get us then. But it worked out. We got back safe, and we thankfully never saw that man again. I normally go walking in the woods with a friend, and today nobody was available, so I went by myself about 7 p.m. I parked the car and went into the entrance. There was one other car there, and a jogger passed me on the way in. I decided to go off the main track. There's a smaller track about 10 to 20 meters down you can follow instead. It's a wooded area, but can get back to the main track in 5 minutes if I want to. I was debating if I should continue on the smaller track straight following the main track, or go down to the more wooded area where there's a pathway. So I'm standing there. I see a man in the distance, in the main track, walking towards the main entrance. He notices me and stops walking. He's staring at me, now with a huge grin, for about 20 seconds. He's in his 50s or 60s, with an extremely creepy face. My guts drop. I'm thinking if I walk back into the main track, he will be there. If he stops staring and continues walking the main track, he will meet at a similar time and nobody else is here. I'm thinking he will continue walking on, and I'll wait until he leaves, and just go because I'm feeling super unsafe. I'm regretting coming here by myself. He ends up walking down the hill at a diagonal while I see he's staring straight at me. He's making a beeline for me. I am now freaking out, but think maybe he's going down the other pathway. There was nobody walking the main track in this distance. I walk up to the main track. I notice he's doing a C shape, going down to where I was standing, and now he's coming up to the main track again and is behind me. He's not running, but his eyes are fixated on me, and he's smirking since he spotted me. I'm freaked out. I get to the main track, which is covered by trees on each side. He's clearly following me, right? Why else would you go down and up like that exactly where I'm walking up? He's about 6 meters from me. I am getting ready to run to the entrance, which would take 5 minutes. He's walking further to the right, up the hill, so he will meet me on the main track. I'm freaking out. He could grab me. He could have a weapon. I'm too scared to take my phone out. The fact that he's been following me without a word, only hearing the leaves breaking under his boots, behind me in the woods while stalking me, is terrifying. A couple come in and I'm extremely relieved. They are walking so fast, so I'm worried once they pass me he could run after me. My car doors don't lock properly and the engine sometimes stalls, so I'm freaking out thinking this might happen now. He ends up stopping at the main track after seeing the couple. I walk so fast. He is now walking super slow, still staring and staying in the woods, doing a predatory stare for about 10 minutes, fixated on me. When I got in my car, I drove slowly to be able to identify him properly. He doesn't come out until I'm way down the road. I'm now wondering, should I have stayed parked and got a picture of him, or recorded him on a video and said you were following me, or told the couple I'm being followed? I drove away super shaken up, and he's gone forever. I can't even describe. All I remember is he's really creepy and has a smirking face and has gray hair. I am thinking I'm lucky if I get out of here. I'm so angry that I can't go for a short walk on a hiking trail without being in danger. I can't imagine what could have happened to me if I met him further into the trail. Thanks everyone for listening. As always, if you have any of your own stories, I would love to narrate them on my channel. Below, you can find the link to my Reddit and my email in order to send your stories in. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, stay